Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third consensus distributed webinar. Today, we will be focusing on our new project called Saga. We are very happy to have our head of Saga, Will Liu, and our senior tech lead of digital identity, Ning to give an introduction of Saga and its future plan. Will and Ning, would you like to say hi to our audience?
Hi, everybody. My name is Will, and I am the head of Saga. So, today we're gonna give everybody a brief introduction of Saga, the distributed data exchange from home platform that Ontology is trying to push out recently.
Hi, this is Ning. Serve as the tech lead of Ontology. Okay.
Thank you both. Now let me give the floor to Will. He will give you an introduction of Saga and take you through the journey of Saga.
Hi, everyone. I'm Will. Today I'm going to give everybody an introduction about our new data exchange platform called Saga. First of all, I'm going to give you the slogan of Saga. Now, basically, Saga is what Ontology hopes to do in the data industry. So Saga is empower the growing data-driven economy by connecting data in a decentralized way. So in this slogan, we want to emphasize that first, we want to handle all the data in a decentralized way. And second, we are playing in the data-driven economy. So we are not completely stayed in the blockchain industry. We are moving forward into data-driven economy. So the first question is, what is Saga? So first of all, Saga is a decentralized data marketplace designed for individuals and enterprises to monetize and acquire data in a trusted, standardized, and cost-effective way. The most important thing is that Saga is faced to individuals and enterprises. These two kinds of clients are the most important clients of our Saga platform. So I will give a 5-step introduction for all of us. First is the growing data-driven economy. Second is the unrealized potential data value. The third is Saga decentralized data sharing, the introduction of Saga itself. And fourth, the unique core technology that Saga brings to the data industry. And the final step is I want to give you a little bit about our ecosystems. First, we need to answer a question that how is the data market or data economy looks like nowadays around the world. So in the past 5 years, we witnessed a rapid emergence of the data-driven economy, and we believe in the next 5 years, there will be a huge leap on data economy. And basically, any business related to data will be benefited from this trend. So what we can see here is obviously USA is the most or the largest data market in the world, but except from Japan, we still have Germany, UK, France, Italy, Ireland, all those countries from Europe that contribute to the data economy. So of course, we are considering which areas that we are going to focus in the following 1 or 2 years for Saga, but it is still not decided yet. But basically, we want to pay more attention to European market and the USA market. So for example, why we're trying to do something in the data business is because that we believe that in most markets, even in Europe, in UK, in USA, the market is undervalued. We believe in UK, there are about 42% of unrealized value of data still exists. According to the actual GVA of UK data economy is 90 billion. So we can calculate that the potential GVA of the whole market will be 155 billion. So we are expecting all the values to be released or realized in the following 5 to 10 years. So we can see that from the UK market that we still have a lot of potentials, a lot of space to do the data business. Don't mention the worldwide. We could do something more in the USA, in Japan, in Europe, even in China maybe. So what we are trying to answer here is why we are trying to move into the data market, data industry. So of course we are the close partner with Ontology, and Ontology is a public chain. They're familiar with the blockchain industry. But we believe that data industry is the future. It lays together with the future of Ontology. So based on the market analyze and our work here, so we are decided to move into the data industry to dig for some more values or make some more values for our clients. So, of course, there will be some challenges when we move into data industry. So I'm gonna list a few here, but just for example. In the traditional way of business flow and data flow for, let's say for a mobile application or a service platform, there will be some points that we facing challenges. Of course, from the start for the data controllers, or we want to call them the data creators or ourselves, they created the data. Legally, they need to control the data. They own the data. But during the business process, the service platform actually collect all the data from the data controller. So which call that the data controller, even it is called controller, but it has no control over data. Of course, without the control over their own data, they can make no value out of their data as well. And as for the service platform, they collect huge amount of data from huge amount of users, individual users and enterprise users. They collect all the data. Even though they don't create it, based on their business flow, they collect all the data, collect and store all the data of their user. So there will be a data center. We believe no matter how good the service platform is, there will be a data privacy and security issues as long as there will be a huge group of data stored in one place. And the service platform does not only collect and store the data, they analyze the data and they sell the data, or they sell the result of the data analysis. And of course, they do have some partners. They add value to the data itself, and so to the data consumer in certain business scenarios. In this process, there will be three parties involved in the process. So the data transaction will be the data transaction cost will be very high. So the data transaction cost between service platform and value-added service, and between the service platform to the data consumer itself. So there will be at least three kind of data transactions. So there will be at least three kind of data transaction costs. And in the last part, the data consumer who buys the data, who pay for the data, they have no clue how good the data is, or they have a certain way or some way to verify the data they bought from the service platform or the value-added service. Of course, we do have some ways to do so, but there is not a way to be certain or to check, to verify the data in a deeper level. So those four challenges is the traditional way, the traditional data exchange platform are facing. Of course, some of the challenges are from the user point of view, and some challenges are from the consumer point of view. But we believe if we brought in the idea of blockchain and our unique idea, our unique design of data exchange framework, we might do something with all those challenges. We might help to solve some of the problems in the process. So from this point, I want to say a little bit more about Saga itself, how Saga, the data exchange platform, works. Of course, from its name, we call it a data exchange platform, which means the data is exchanged in Saga. And we brought in three parties into our process. First of all, data providers. They are the creator and controller, as I mentioned before, of all the data. There could be individuals. They could create their DID, and they could store their personal data locally, and they could choose to monetize their data, or they could choose freely to send their data to any data consumers through Saga and get a proper reward for sharing their data. The second kind of data provider is companies or enterprises. Of course, they could create their decentralized identity as well for all the decentralized features that it gives to all the users. And one of the benefits of decentralized identity is that we could do a complete justice verification for all the identity of all the companies. And all the verifications can be verified later for everyone in public from the public chain data itself. And we gave those companies a way to monetize or to contribute to the in the data industry. They could sell their own data if they have consent from their user or consent from the owner. They could help analyze the data. They could do a data cleaning. They could do some computing, and they could do some data mining and find out some rules, and they could simply giving out the rules Of course, individuals and companies are the first parties of Saga. We call them the data provider. So we have a provider, so of course we have a data consumer. In our cases, our data consumer, which means who buys the data, we only want to, limit them to be only companies or enterprises. Because in a lot of countries, it is very sensitive to buy or sell certain kind of data. Because we are involving all the individuals to be our data provider, there will be a very sensitive, very strict regulation for us to follow during the whole process. So we will limit the data consumer to be companies. And for the third party, we call them the data processors. In this area, we are working with our partners, some startups, ecosystem partners from Ontology. We're working with all these companies to provide extra value or value-added service in the data, between data provider and data consumer. Because we believe that data is not something that, okay, I listed on certain website and you buy it, then it's done. So the buyers have a lot of unique requirements for the data he or she wants to buy. So we need a third party to process the data, to compute the data, to clean the data, to store the data for the data consumers. A very good example is that in the traditional way, if we want to forecast the weather of certain city, we need to have our historical data. We need to have an algorithm. We need to have a place to run the algorithm and to feed the data. And at last, we run it and we put in the data, and we could get a result of a prediction of the weather condition of certain cities. But in the process, there were only one party involved. But in our design, there will be three separated parties involved in the process. First, the data provider will provide historical data. Of course, the consumer could choose from different data providers or data sources for different data out of the consideration of price or accuracy or latency, maybe. So the data consumers could choose between several different data sources. They all provide historical weather data. The second party is the one that provides algorithms or the computing programs, maybe we can call that. So that party is our data processor. One of our data processors. So of course, data consumer could select from several data processors algorithms to meet their unique requirements. And as for the third party, we need a place or a hardware place and a software environment and a hardware environment to run the algorithm, to feed the data. So there will be another kind of data processor that they provide technologies like TEE, like trusted execution environment. Everything will go to the environment. Everything will stay in the environment other than the result of all the computing. So in our case is the data projection of certain city. Only those data will come out and sent to the data consumer. And the data source and the algorithms will stay in the environment, and the environment will destroy itself after the process is done. So we are bringing 3 parties into the Saga market, and we want to bring 3 kind of unique values to those 3 parties. And next, we want to say something about why Saga is different from the traditional data exchange marketplace. Of course, we are started from a blockchain company. We are trying to make Saga a decentralized data exchange platform or data marketplace. So in these ways, Saga are leveraging the advantage of blockchain or decentralized ideas. First is ID and data management. Our main goal is to help our clients or the users to adopt or to generate their own decentralized ID. So self-sovereign identity is the future, of course. Basically, in around 10 years, all the major industries will be using decentralized identity in one way or another. Of course, there is a lot of companies that are doing decentralized identities in the market right now. So we want to help our clients to generate their own decentralized ID and start to work on their ID, to collect data with it, to link matters with it, to get to know friends with it. And the second one is decentralized storage. Because we want to make Saga decentralized, we need a place to store all the sensitive data properly. So no data centers of AWS or Google Cloud could do that for us. We can only use a decentralized storage in our case. And during the transaction process, first, we are involving smart contract from Ontology to handle our payments and transactions. That is one thing that we are different from other traditional data marketplace, of course. And we are supported via crypto payments. We are accepting ONG as our payments. Of course, we have our plans to adopt something like PayPal, like a credit card, like Alipay to our website, of course. But we will remain using ONG as a payment option for all of our users. There won't be a time that we only support fiat but not crypto. Of course, we will support crypto payment all the time. And the third one is data token. Data token is the one most important concept that pushed us to build Saga. We are trying to create a new concept called data token that handles all the decentralized data for our users. In a way, data token is familiar with or similar to the traditional token. But in our solution or in our DDXF, decentralized data exchange framework, data token represents the permission or the rights of access or interact with data. And the data token itself is stored and managed by the owner and only the owner. The data token is something like an NFT like a kitty that you can store in your wallet and only you can transfer it. And by owning certain kind of data, you will have certain kind of access to the data that is stored in the decentralized storage of Saga. And of course, we are record every transaction on Saga to the Ontology blockchain that to trace the publish history, the transaction history, and the details of all the transactions. Okay, preview of what data looks like. Oh, sorry, what Saga looks like, or what Saga looks like. So Saga is not official yet. We are under developing for about 1 month to build the Saga usable product for our users, but we are not ready to release this version to the public yet. So, but I will tell you some key features of Saga 1.0. So, of course, decentralized identity will be supported in this version. Any wallet, any applications that supports ONT ID could log into Saga directly. And everything related to that, the ID could be seen or will be recorded on blockchain. You can take it as your first step or first try of decentralized identity. And second is the identity verification of both individuals and enterprises. The third is that we create 3 kind of data service for all of our users. The first is a data set. The second is data API. The third is our data toolbox. Everyone that could use Saga or everyone that passed identity verification, they could buy or sell their own data set or data API or data toolbox. Data toolbox is what I call for the weather forecast product we just mentioned before. And all the interactions with the public chain with the smart contract will be included in this version as well. So basically, they will the Saga 1.0 will support smart contract, will support crypto payment, will support 3 kind of data product, and will support decentralized identity sign up and sign in. So in the detailed flow of our Saga market, in the register part, we were integrated with decentralized identity. In the published part, we were integrated with decentralized storage. And we will use smart contract for the transactions after the transaction match. Then the payment process is handled by smart contract and the cryptocurrency, and the data received and confirmed will be handled by the data token itself. And all the transaction will be recorded on the blockchain and could be traceable. So we are still working on how to 100% decentralize this process. But in current stage, we are doing our decentralized work in the purple box. We're trying to decentralize all those steps in our first stage. Of course, our ultimate goal in this is to decentralize the whole process totally. And last, I want to mention that the Saga marketplace is using our distributed data exchange framework from Ontology, the public chain Ontology. So that makes our development much easier. Because DDXF is a package that helps all the users or the developers to handle data in a decentralized way. First, it will help on data ownership and authentication verifications. And it integrates closely with ONT ID, of course. Everything about data and everything about ownership, everything about permission will be connected directly to ONT ID. Second, it helps with data security and privacy protection. The data token separates the data ownership and the right of using data by issuing different kind of data tokens. People with the usage data token can only access, can only read those data, but they don't own the data. The data owner will have a unique data token to represent its ownership over all the data. And the third one is a peer-to-peer cross-platform data trading technology. Of course, Saga is using DDXF, as a lot of our ontologist partners are using DDXF. DDXF is not only for data exchange, but handling data in a more secure and decentralized way. Of course, for Saga itself, we want to emphasize that Saga is not official yet. It's the attention of ontology team to the data industry. We will keep invest into Saga. We will bring more users to Saga. We will bring more business scenarios to Saga. We will try to become the world best decentralized data exchange marketplace in the next year. We want to let people know that if you have concerns on data exchange, or if you want to sell the data, or if you want to buy certain kind of data, you could think of Saga as an option in decentralized world.
Okay, let's move on to our Q&A session today and see what questions we got from the community. So the first one will be, can everyone use Saga? If so, what's the benefit of using Saga?
Yes, most of us could use Saga. If it's like anyone that with a legal identity that could use Saga. So any enterprises could use Saga. So basically everyone could use Saga. So what's the benefit? For individual users like ourselves, Saga gives us a way to monetize our own data. So when we are using applications like YouTube or Twitter, they collect our data. Like Facebook, they collect our data and sell our data. So we don't get any benefits from that. But Saga gives you a way to monetize your own data and sell it directly to the data consumer. Of course, if you don't want to do that, then you can always switch it off. But if you are okay with it, you will have a reasonable amount of money as the reward of sharing your own data. And for the enterprises, Saga will provide some unique kind of data on our platform. So in some cases, if you want some data and no one in the market could give it to you or sell it to you, you can always check on Saga. We might have something like that. Or we might have a way or a method to collect all those data for you as long as it is in compliance with all the regulations. Okay.
Great. Thank you for your answer. The next question is, when will Saga be available?
So we don't have a certain date to release the official version of Saga, but we are now under the third version of internal development. And as we are looking at it, we believe Saga is getting better, is getting useful by day. So my explanation is that before the end of this year, there will be a very useful, a very user-friendly version of Saga for everybody to use. So my answer is not certain, but in a few months.
Cool. So, is there any partners already on board with Saga?
Yes. So about the partners, our first partner is Ontology, the blockchain, the public blockchain. And when we say first partner, basically Ontology help to establish the Saga platform itself. And a lot of partners of Ontology are pretty interested in joining Saga. But Saga is not a league or a group. We are a platform. Saga is a platform. We provide service to almost everyone or almost every company. We have enough funding. We have enough people. We have enough resources for current stage. When the time is right, we will try to get more partners in different areas, including development, including business scenarios, including marketing. So we do have some partners already on board for Saga, but I don't see those partners as an essential part of the process that Saga would go in the following few months. Okay.
Great to hear that. The next question is, if I want to post data on Saga and sell it to individuals, do I need to go through any review or approval by any authority?
No. Or in the general case, no. The case is if you are selling the data of yourself, or you can prove the data is generated or created or controlled by yourself, that means you own the data. if you own the data, you can do whatever you want with the data. You can sell it to different people. You can publish on our website and charge no fees and provide it to people free. You can also do that. But in extreme cases, we may need to interfere with the process, but in no way it could be called review or approval. We will try to help our individual client to upload or list the data with value and only the data with value. We believe with the help from the Saga team, our users will get to know what kind of data should be uploaded and listed and what kind of data shouldn't be. To say it again, that in this process, there will be no authorities to review or approve the data. Okay.
Thank you very much, Will. Let's move on to the next question. What kind of data will be listed on Saga, since Saga is a decentralized data marketplace?
So we don't have a specific industry to focus on. We have more than 10 categories of data right now in our test environment. We don't want to limit Saga into certain industries. We want Saga to be a one-for-all solution. We will welcome all kinds of data for all kinds of purposes from all kinds of people or enterprise. And after Saga is official, if you want to list data on Saga, we have some recommendations. If you are trying to upload data about cryptocurrency, that is welcomed. If you want to upload data about science, that is welcomed as well. If you want to upload some sensitive personal data without any pre-process, then it's not welcome. Saga, first of all, will be in compliance with the most strict regulations in the world, which means GDPR. So we are walking down that road as well.
Thank you. That's very informative. Let's actually mention our next question from the community. Since you mentioned GDPR, how will Saga handle data regulation in different countries?
Yes, that is quite a good question. And that is the question that we put in most of our effort with. Of course, we are only a technology team. We are only a bunch of people that have the passion to go into data market, data industry. But we don't have enough knowledge or enough time to go through all the knowledges that to help us handle all the regulations. So we will hire more people on this part to help us with the regulations. And we will work with different consulting firms in different areas, let them to help us to deal with different regulations in different areas. We won't be going to global or going to all the countries at the same time. We will take one at a time. We will do it right, and we will do next. We will work with the locals. We will work with the local government to meet their requirements on data regulations. And after everything is settled, then we think about moving to another country, to a different area, to a different regulation. So we have a lot of ways to do that, to handle that. We know that it's tough work. It will spend a lot of time and effort, but that is worth doing. We want Saga to be the most secure, most regulated data marketplace.
I think that's a very wise way to do it. Ning, do you have anything to add on that? It's about data regulation in different countries.
Because we are using ONT ID, which is a decentralized identifier standardization from W3C, and actually they just try to provide a disintermediation collaboration with from peer-to-peer, from end user to from resource provider to resource consumer directly. So in this case, we can provide the regulation of data. It can turn to be peer-to-peer part. So it depends on the service provider to provide service on data from the service provider instead of their marketplace. So this can turn to be a new decentralized data exchange from peer to peer, which is technically and has to be meets the regulation from the end user and the providers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. The last question is, can we use Saga on Onto later, as I am currently an Onto user and I want to enjoy a one-stop service with my Onto? Is that possible?
That is quite a good question, but we don't want our users to think that way.
Why is that?
As Saga, it will be mainly web-based, which means that you could access it through your web browser, through Chrome, through Edge, through Firefox. And we will provide, we might provide some extensions for the market, but we don't want the full experience to integrate into onto the mobile application. The reason is that we think onto as a tool for our individual users to handle first their crypto assets, second their data. The data is belong to the user itself, and onto is help the user to handle their data. If the users want to exchange or upload the data onto Saga and monetize it, Saga supports logging with onto to centralize all the records, all the data, or the transactions with the ONT ID, and everything will handle decentralizedly. So my point is that we want our users to treat onto as the access point or an entry to the ecosystem. We don't want to ruin the experience by integrate a lot of functions from Saga to a mobile application, which is not the purpose why we issued Saga and Onto. So the answer is no. You won't have full experience of Saga on Onto, but all the data on Onto can be connected. your ID can be connected to Saga by using ONT.
Ning, what do you think of the benefit of combining ONT ID on Saga?
From the designing very beginning to design ONT ID, we just need to provide identifiers on-chain for any kind of entities. So the entities not only works for the users' smart devices, but also data. So we turn data when we are using decentralized identifiers for data, meaning that we can find the data precisely at a location at any kind of endpoints from globally from the blockchain. So and then we set up our data token. With data token, all the access or the right to operate on certain kind of data is provided on chain along with token. And the way why we use Saga, we provide our Saga product here is because we think the data do have value, and also the right to operate on certain kind of data, especially the access token, got value. So anyone just want to access the data. Instead, they just want to get the data. So the ownership and the accessibility of the data can be turned into two different kind of rights. So two kinds of tokens. So we just combine the blockchain token along with the off-chain data access token. And we hope in this case, there's not many data copies around the internet, but all of them just accessed by tokens. And then maybe this can bring the next phase of internet data forms, maybe like knowledge, like any kind of useful data packages, etc. That's right. Okay.
Thank you very much. I think our community will be much looking forward to it. That's all for today's Q&A session on for Saga. If you have any further questions, you can feel free to leave us a message in the comment area or just join our community. We have many different channels to connect with the community on Twitter, Telegram, Facebook, Reddit, LinkedIn, and Medium and Discord. Also, stay tuned with us on Ontology's Twitter for further updates of our new decentralized data marketplace, Saga. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.